We are recording. Testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 for sure. Output around. I don't see anything saying a right error. So.
Do you see anything saying wrong error?
Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Scurvivor series. We are recording in a different spot. We're currently doing renovations to my home office. So the podcast studio that is my office is currently unavails. So we're on a mobile Zoom here, and I'm holding a microphone, and Jessie still got the usual headset, so it might sound a little different. I feel like I sound a little different on the headset, but it's all going to come down to, how it sounds in the edit. Hopefully it sounds good. If it doesn't, you only got to deal with this for probably a week, I hope. I think maybe just a week. So we'll record.
Listen, I'm trying real hard.
Yeah, it comes down to the painting job. But we have this as a backup, so don't worry, folks. We're still going to come at you live, though. Not live, with this episode of Scurvivor series. I'm your host, Ryan Nicey. And with me, as always, the lovely, the beautiful, the talented Jessie Dubiowski. Jessie, how are you doing?
I'm cozy. I'm a little sleepy.
We did wake up and then immediately start recording, practically.
I'm not a morning person, so...
Never been.
It's going to take me a minute to get into this, but I'm here. I got my coffee.
Your coffee.
My coffee.
We got the fire. We got a fake fireplace going.
Fireplace.
We
have a real fireplace, but we don't use it.
Yes.
Because we haven't had it inspected yet.
That is fair.
So.
What's the renovations happening with the home office here? You're sort of leading the charge here because I have not a design bone in my body.
I don't know.
Great to know. Great to know now.
We're painting it green. And then we're going to build some stuff. Do I know what yet?
We're building a desk.
Yeah. We're putting together half of a desk from a popular movie that
was destroyed by a giant purple alien that was obsessed with snapping. He was a big jazz fan. He would go that's the universe's worst nightmare, is when Thanos goes to a jazz room and just snapping.
Do we have to censor Thanos?
No, I don't think. Who cares?
I know, I'm kidding. To go with the bit, though.
Do you think Kevin Feige is listening to this?
I mean, Kevin Feige, if you're listening to this, we were gonna trash it. It's trashed. We threw it in a dumpster.
Yeah, exactly right.
And I cut it in half and I took it home.
That is accurate. Anyways, we're talking here about this week's episode of Survivor, of course, on Scurvivor. If you're listening to us the first time, then what a weird spot to start listening to us. But I appreciate nonetheless the semi-finale of season 45.
I mean, we are judging you for joining now, but
we appreciate it.
Yeah, but we're gonna sit here and think about how weird it is.
It is weird. I mean,
I'm just kidding.
You gotta jump in at some point, right? You have to jump in at some point with both 2 feet. But the semi-finale of season 45 is a weird spot, I think.
And we like weird.
Yeah, I do. We do like weird.
Yeah.
We're a bunch of weirdos, wouldn't you say, audience?
I can only assume that there's a laugh track or
it's just
some
clapping.
sort of bit happening right now.
Just clapping.
Okay.
Because we're on the Zoom. Handy P4 recorder. PodTrack P4 recorder. It comes with presets, audio presets. So I had 4 of them that I will be hitting the entire episode.
And I have no idea what they are. Well, I have some idea. You were telling me about them, but I forget.
Yes, but also you don't have the audio to hear what they are this time around. So
anyway.
It's a fun one. Well, we're here obviously talking about episode 12 of Scurvivor. We are in the second to last episode of the season. Things are coming down to the wire, and we'll start discussing a lot of different things here, but we'll start with episode 12, the ex-girlfriend at the wedding. Any overall thoughts about this episode, I guess, before we really get into it, Beanie?
Lies, all lies. I love it.
Yeah, this episode is a really good dissection of this burgeoning relationship between Dee and Austin, and also
which they completely, the producers miffed.
Yeah, we'll get to that because I have feelings. But
so do Austin and Dee.
Yeah. Well, my point there is that it really dissects the relationship between the two of them, and who is the emotional one and who is gunning to win $1 million. And I think it becomes very clear at the end of this episode. So we get back from the post-Emily blindside vote. The camp is very quiet, eerily quiet. Julie breaks the silence. She says in an interview that she's ecstatic for her move. She thought it was great, which, of course, it was. Austin says he thought Julie's play was tragic, is what he said.
Well, yeah, he gave her the more powerful idol, and then she
and used it against her.
Yeah. Come on, Austin.
But he thought that the vote would be Jake or Emily, so that's why he didn't play his amulet, which I thought was interesting because not once did he think he was on the chopping block when Dee was, in this entire time, fighting to keep him.
I wonder if, I feel like if Dee thought that Julie was really going for Austin, I feel like she would have told Austin that Julie's putting your name out there. Julie's going to pull your name.
That
right?
That might be a fair point.
I can't words. Oh my goodness.
That's a fair point. I think that's a fair point. Excuse me, I was taking a sip of water. I think that's a fair point. If Dee truly felt that Julie was going to go for Austin, then she probably would have told Austin in that moment.
Yeah. I mean, we would like to assume. But also, Dee is not as forthcoming with Austin as Austin is with her.
Yeah.
Which I think she's definitely less compromised than Austin is. He's just a gooey little emotional boy. He's just a little chocolate chip cookie just out of the oven. He's a little soft and squishy.
This is a great analogy, I have to
say. He's a little soft and squishy and he's warm. And Dee is like, nah, I've been out here for days. I'm solid as a rock.
The cookie general that's been out. The sugar cookie that's been sitting there.
Nobody gonna take a bite out of me.
Yeah. We get a moment with Dee where she's sort of talking about how she's been acting all night. Basically, like we knew that they were going to do, is that
she's going for her Oscar.
Dee's going for the Oscar. She is going to act like she's angry with Julie so that she can play up this idea.
Sorry, which we didn't really see very much of them actually. They were distant from each other, but
yeah, it was less of an actual fight, more of like a Cold War,
I don't know if anybody even picked up on it, to be honest.
I don't know explicitly if anyone picked up on it, but there's at least the idea that people assumed that she was still with Austin and Drew, and assumed that she wasn't with Julie. So maybe people didn't really talk about it, but whatever was happening, it worked. Arguably.
Can't wait for Austin to find out.
Oh yeah,
everything.
We'll get to that obviously. So she's been acting all night. Obviously, I wrote down Dee lies to Austin about the play. What am I with that? Dee lies to Austin about the play. I think that's just the play, the idol play is what I meant to write down. We don't necessarily know if he lied to Austin about that idol play. I should be clear. But she just seemingly did not tell him. But it establishes this idea that Austin cannot lie to her, has to go tell her about what's happening with Julie. But when it can help Dee, she will not tell information. She can lie to Austin, but he cannot lie to her.
They both know what this game is.
Yeah.
And I think, Dee told herself no showmances. So maybe she's going to have her showmance, but she's not going to let it get in the way of her game. Austin is letting it get in the way of his game. She
is willing to sacrifice a burgeoning love, something that she described as potentially her husband at one point in time.
Well, because I think they both know that it's a game, and she's like, well, at the end of this, we both know why we're here.
Yeah. We
can pick this up afterward.
I agree. I can pick you up in my $1 million car afterwards.
Pick you up in a private jet. Is that what people do with their money now?
Probably. Just ask Taylor Swift. Heyo. So I think when I write, Dee lies to Austin because Austin asked her, hey, did you tell Julie? And she's like, no, I did not. Drew also comes over and asks a similar question. Dee also lies to him.
She swears on her whole family.
Exactly. Drew in an interesting cutaway says that he knows someone is lying, and just like there's bad faith actors out here, and he's really like a very interesting cutaway to have, knowing what happens at the end of the episode and how Drew's episode arc goes. But it's very interesting because he's like, there's some really bad faith actors out here. Somebody's obviously lying, but he doesn't say who. He never picks up.
They imply that it's Julie with the edit.
Yeah, they imply it's Julie. There's also the implication that it might be Dee, because obviously it's happening the same moment of Dee telling them. But he never explicitly says it's Dee, and he never really is like going after Dee in any moment, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, someone's lying, and someone's a bad actor, and someone's lying. And I'm like, bro, you have no idea who's lying to you. That means they are not a bad actor. What are you talking about? But that begins the story of Drew. So Drew also goes on and says that basically he's straight up pissed at Julie. Julie doesn't trust any of them now. I think they have a conversation between the two of them on the beach, and it's just like, Drew's just like, yep, the Reba 4 getting back together. And Julie's like, yeah, I mean, I want to work with you guys if you're willing to work with me, but I'm unsure. And he's like, nah, we're all good. We're cool. And I'm like sitting here being like, talk about bad faith actors.
Yeah. And they're both just like, yeah. Together again.
Together
woot.
again. Katora wakes up and she goes idol hunting.
And cusses on camera again. Thank you, Katora.
Austin and Dee catch her hunting, and Katora admits to searching for an idol. That's the moment where that awkward moment. I think she said something to Austin of like, don't tell anybody because this is so embarrassing.
Yeah.
And Austin's like, And
they all like say to each other, like, oh, it's so that Julie doesn't get it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
We get that moment on the beach where Julie and Drew are talking about the Reba 4 final. That's definitely not happening. Dee and Julie talk about how good Dee's acting is. They talk about voting for Drew, potentially. And that's pretty much everything before we get to the reward challenge.
So sad. This is just such a sad episode.
Why is it a sad episode?
I haven't lost anyone in 7 episodes.
Okay, these are spoilers for the end of the episode of what's happening. And
you can cut that out.
No, we're keeping it in. We're going through the order of the show. You can't talk about the ending and how sad it is for you.
I don't like doing things in order. Challenge. I like going all over the place.
You literally wrote it down in order too. I'm so confused.
Yeah. And then they say Drew's gotta go, and then I just got sad.
Drew's gotta go.
Why are they going after my boy? Why can't we go after, like, Austin or something?
Well, because Austin's dating Dee, so that's why.
But can we go after, like, Julie again?
No.
Or like
Jake's there.
No.
Anyways.
What about? Hold on, I got this.
Better be.
Dee.
No,
okay.
Obviously not. Why would Dee go after herself? Reward challenge. We get to the reward challenge. It's a very strange reward challenge, I would argue. Basically, you have to race from the ocean to a barrel, and then
You have to, as Google would say, do a barrel roll.
I literally.
Did you do a laugh track?
No,
Did you do a laugh track?
I did the rim shot. I should have an audio thing that just says waka waka. But yeah, basically that's
He's
probably
so mean to me.
So they name these challenges. Every challenge has a name. I wouldn't be surprised if this challenge's name was do a barrel roll, because that's perfect. So yes, race to the beach, do a barrel roll, basically ride the barrel. Like one of those, like if you ever go to like a water park and there's like sort of like those lily pads and you kind of just have to like, wade your way across the rope ladder thing on that lily pad. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about? You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
I remember there's like a log ride.
Yeah,
we didn't really do water parks as kids.
That's kind of shocking to me. But I guess are they water parks expensive? I guess they are.
Yeah, I mean, there was one time that we went to Six Flags and we went to the water park area, and then we went to Splashdown in like middle school. That's our local water park, the one that has 3 slides and a pool.
You never went to Jungle Gyms in Ocean City, Maryland?
Oh, you know what? We probably did.
I love Jungle Gyms. It's a great water park. It's small, but it's fun.
I don't remember the lily pads though.
I actually don't know if they have this.
So you lied to me. This is all the theme of this episode is lies, lies, lies.
You ride the barrel, you get 3 keys, then you have to solve a slide puzzle. The winner of the reward challenge gets
$1 million.
Well, no, that's if the winner of the episode, the whole thing. The winner of the reward challenge gets a bunch of picnic food, and be able to go on a picnic on a little sand drift in the ocean.
A helicopter ride to a picnic
to
on
a sand drift,
remote
to eat food.
sand spit in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, sounds romantic, doesn't it? I feel I found it sound very weird. Hold on, let me try something. Okay, didn't like that I did that. Didn't like that I did that. Yeah, I kind of sound weird, so I don't know what to expect here. So I apologize, folks, if I sound too weird. Basically, Austin is out to an early lead. Katora is slow in the water, as
Austin's
we've come
like,
to expect.
I must do this for my love.
Mm-hmm. Now that we're actually heading into the episode, I fully believe now that they just cut out that underwater task thing. Not task, but immunity challenge. You know, the one where they have to, it has a name, famous name, where they're all underwater and they have to breathe.
With the straws.
Make straws out of their hands and breathe. I fully expect at this point that they've just cut it. I mean, actually,
they don't do it every time, do they?
They've done it every season for a couple seasons now, and there's a good chance. I mean, maybe
it might be the one that gets the person who decides who goes to the final 3.
I feel like they typically do it around here though, like 6 or 7 or 5. I mean, I guess it could happen next episode. I don't really know. But Katora's slow in the water here. Austin finishes the barrels first, followed by Drew, and then Austin just gets to the slide puzzle. We know he's good at puzzles, and he nails it. He solves the puzzle first. Austin wins.
I think that I wrote down, if he doesn't take D, I think Jeff would have cried. I think on camera would have broken down and been like, why? And then would have just added people until he picked D.
Yeah, you and I are sitting on the couch. I'm so excited because this is a perfect television moment coming up, right? We have Austin. He has this romantic picnic on a spinster, taking a helicopter ride and everything. Such a romantic journey.
Austin is killing the challenge. He's like, I gotta do this for my love. This is it.
This is so romantic. He picks D. Oh my God, I'm so happy. Picks D. Austin and D going
like immediately. Doesn't even hesitate. Like D.
Picks D immediately. Such a romantic journey on. So much good television we're about to have in a moment. And then Jeff's like, and you're gonna have to pick a third.
Third wheel. Jeffrey, why?
Now, there's a good chance, and I was trying to say this about the straw challenge, whatever it was called, about how they probably have to lock in these challenges at the beginning of the season. They probably can't change challenges as it's going along. And that is probably to do with game show law, which is real. Game show law is essentially like trying to make sure that the challenge is as fair as possible. So you probably can't change challenges midway because that you have to just have to lock in from the beginning. And in that moment, there's a good chance that they were locked in on you had to have 3 people on this challenge to begin with.
I don't think that they have to lock in how many people go on the reward.
That's a fair point.
Because
the
Jeff
immunity
changes that all the time.
Yes, the immunity is the one that really helps that. Jeff... Yeah, I guess there are those moments where someone asks, can I pick another person? And Jeff allows it. And in those moments, we don't necessarily know if it was going to be another person or not. But Jeff is also an executive producer where seemingly he can make those decisions and make those changes. But at the same time, there's also the argument that you can't change how the reward challenges in the moment, because arguably the reward challenges can help you and give you an advantage of, good food, good night's sleep, letters from home. It can give you an advantage in the game, arguably. So I don't really know. Either way, if I was a producer for this show and I knew or saw that we were going to have 3 winners for this, I would have been so upset. I was like, can it just be 2? Can it just be Dee and Austin? We would have 10 minutes of fantastic television. We have romantic
They'd be
moment.
feeding each other grapes.
We could have a kiss on television if we have Dee and Austin do this by themselves. Instead,
I 100% think that we're going to have a kiss at the finale, afterward.
I hope so at this rate. But we could have had a kiss here, is my point. And as someone that loves love, we could have had a kiss here. Instead, we had to have a third wheel of Katora. That, no offense to Katora, but she also knew that this sucked.
When they got in the helicopter, and she was like, they're sitting real close. They're holding hands. I'm a third wheel. I was dying. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so awkward.
Katora saying that comment made the segment work in a way of she recognized how awkward it was. But I think it would have been more
weird if it was just the 3 of them and she didn't know.
Yeah, 100%. So it ended up working. It ended up working on this meta level where she's recognizing that she's the third wheel. But realistically, everyone wanted, and I imagine the producers also wanted, it's yeah, I'll take a meta story of, oh, she's a third wheel, but I really want a romantic moment between Dee and Austin and the helicopter pilot just sitting there, enjoying their wine, enjoying their food, their cured meats and everything. I was so upset. Audience,
he was shouting.
I was shouting at the television. I turned to Jessie. I felt it in the pit of my stomach.
It was such a missed opportunity.
I was so angry. I have a degree in producing film and television, technically, and every part of my producing soul that I got from college was dying on the vine.
Everything aligned perfectly for that moment.
Yeah.
And it didn't get to happen.
It
did in a way, but...
Money on the table is what that is. Money left on the table. It was so frustrating to watch. So frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
That's my tangent.
You know what everyone talked more about than the third wheel, it seems? The fact that they flew by the losers.
Yeah, that was hilarious. That was a good moment.
Just to rub it in.
That was also a very good moment.
How rude.
There is this idea here, I guess, of we didn't really discuss it yet, but there's the idea that Austin said when he had to pick his third choice that he had to make a strategic choice. Mm-hmm. Someone that he's basically said something about someone that knows that they can stay on the island and make sure things go their way. Basically, he's electing babysitters. So that's why he brings Katora. That's why he leaves Drew. Obviously, Drew gets upset by this for not getting picked. Julie is also kind of upset because she recognizes that she's being babysat here.
Yeah.
We get some moments between the 2 of them. Well, 3 of them really as well, but go on.
But to be fair, Katora is that person you don't want to leave at camp with Julie. Turns out it was actually Jake that you don't want to leave at camp with Julie. But Katora is the one that, I feel can turn on a dime. And I feel of the 3 people that you would have to babysit Julie, I think Jake and Drew are the right choices. I think you take Katora with you. You keep her happy, keep her away from Julie. You keep Julie away from being alone without Drew. You need Drew there to back you up.
That's actually a great point of 100% in hindsight. You should have chosen Jake because...
But I mean, how would he have known that? Jake is the one that has gone along with everything.
Yeah. As far as we know, though, Jake finds the idol while they're gone. So that's the argument, is that if you brought Jake, he might not have found the idol, And then in that moment, he might not have come up with, I mean, maybe he would have come up with, but he certainly came up with it after the fact, this whole idea of, let's make a move, I want to work with Julie. Maybe he made that move because he knew that he was safe. And it didn't matter.
He was empowered by it. But, like, to be fair to Austin, like, you don't know any of that's going to happen. You're just looking at
Of course.
Jake versus Katurah, like, who's a good person to leave with Julie and Drew.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
Katurah is the one that
play
can,
in hindsight.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, I think it was the right play in the moment.
No, yeah, and
it turned out to bite him in the butt, but there's no way he could have known that. Like, historically, Katurah's been the one that, like, flips on a dime or, like, is more willing to go against the group or, like, to get a certain person, whereas Jake is the one who's been voting to stay safe.
Yeah.
So, like, if you have him and Drew at camp with Julie, that sounds like a good idea.
No, yeah, I agree. I just said that. I agree that it makes sense in the forefront, but in hindsight's 2020, it obviously did not work out, and maybe that was the domino that led to Drew.
But I mean, it did work out because they didn't vote for Austin.
Well, it would have worked out if they kissed on camera, but
I mean, they couldn't vote for Austin, but
basically, there's some camp stuff. We kind of skipped around.
You really wanted a kiss.
I want to. Of course, I want to kiss on television. It's so good. I wonder if I would have gotten points. I wonder if I would have gotten points on if there was a kiss.
Damn, you probably would have.
I probably would have gotten points, wouldn't I?
Well, too bad.
I'll look that up after the fact. We get some stuff at the camp where Drew recognizes that he's a babysitter. Julie also recognizes that she's being babysat. Drew's pissed, so much so that he throws the lid of the rice pot. Drew is on one this episode.
Listen, your number one from the beginning has won.
This was his second.
No.
Well, I don't know about the reward.
But he's won a lot of challenges, right? And he finally wins a reward challenge.
He's won one immunity, and I don't know if he's won any.
Two. No.
He's definitely won one immunity because they mentioned it at the immunity challenge. I don't know if he's ever won a explicit reward.
Yeah, but no one's ever picked Drew to go on a reward. And finally, his number one. It just sucks for Drew that it was a romantic picnic because obviously he's not going to bring Drew, right?
I think the argument of like him trying to do a strategic moment, he was going to leave Drew behind in that moment.
Yeah, it sucks for Drew, but I get it. Like your number one finally gets a reward challenge. It's like the one person who would pick you doesn't pick you.
Yeah, if he wasn't romantically involved with D, I can see an argument where he picks Jake and Katurah.
Yeah.
And he leaves the Reba 3 there because he knows.
Or if it wasn't like the final 6 or whatever, if it was back in the day, he would have picked Drew.
Sure.
But now we're at a point where there's less and less people.
Yeah.
He has fewer and fewer people to leave behind in camp. I get it. I get why Drew's mad.
The helicopter does a flyover. Drew's pissed because of that. Katurah realizes she's a third wheel. We said a lot of this stuff already.
It's the episode of this title. Title of this episode just Drew's pissed.
Yeah, basically. Dee appreciates Austin's picking her because I wrote down because her man put actions into words. Words into actions. Yes, correct. He put his words into actions, and then there's this moment where we break the fourth wall, and the producer's saying like, "So what's your relationship with Austin? You seem smitten," and she's like, "I am smitten." And like, oh my gosh. But that's what I mean. Like they're so, and like they're really leaning. Austin is so cute. I know, and they're really leaning into this very romantic, cute moment. But they could have had a kiss here. It was right. But here. listen. And I think they know that. But like props to them for still involving the third wheel, you know? Yeah. They could have just, ignored Katurah the whole time. And they probably easily could have. You're right. But you're right. They did, and I'm sure they were disappointed that it wasn't just them on that little beach island with a picnic. Yeah. But I think they did a great job involving her in the picnic. Okay? That's probably accurate. Props to them. Props to them. What else? I think I had to lower my. I don't know. I feel like it's echoey. That's why I'm echoey. Anyways, maybe you need to sit on this side of the room. Well, too late. I'm already sitting. What else? At camp, Jake wants to scheme with the helicopter crew, but because he can't, he is like, I got to figure out something. He looks for an idol. He looked for an idol earlier with Julie as well. But I'm going to do that thing, that thing in like Ted Lasso or like any soccer football match where like the announcer has like the microphone on the upper lip.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. That sounds fine. I don't know if that works. I'm basically eating this mic.
If you guys hear a bunch of mouth sounds, just blame Ryan.
Jake, like I said, Jake wants to scheme. He looked for an idol. He finds a clue to an idol that leads him to the bamboo raft. He searches that bamboo raft naked for some reason, and he finds an idol.
Doesn't he say that he's like, oh, I'm going on the beach to change, and he's in his like black tank top?
Yeah.
He changes into a polo.
Yeah.
And then is like, oh, I got to strip because if somebody finds me, like I'm changing.
Yeah.
And then he changes back into the tank top.
Yeah.
So he changes, but then goes back in the same clothes that he was in before.
Uh-huh.
Am I incorrect on this?
No, you're right. He would have.
Is it like an idea of like Jake trying to do something sneaky and clever, and then ends up
in theory, Jake
doing nothing?
In theory, Jake says, "I'm going to go to the beach to change." Comes back wearing the exact same outfit.
But he did change twice.
Correct. So an interesting moment. I mean, they probably picked up on the fact that he was searching for an idol, but still, it was very funny.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
I like the idea of like lying to everybody. Yeah, I'm gonna go change on the beach. Like at this point, everyone's like, he's looking for an idol. We all know this.
Well, like also like Julie when she went off with Jake.
They're like, we're not looking for peppers. We're just going to look for an idol.
Jake's like, I'm a cool babysitter.
Yeah, that was a great moment. But we don't see any moments. What that turns out, we don't see what it's like when the winners come back to camp because we go straight to the immunity challenge. The immunity challenge here is you have to put basically 1 foot on a hinged beam, balance a ball. If that ball falls, you're out. I think both of us would suck at this challenge.
I have terrible balance.
Yeah.
Like I could probably do pretty well. I could beat a couple people because I could find it.
Yeah.
But then I would start wobbling like Drew.
I think our hips would not allow us to do this. I think we'd just lock up and be like, the pain.
Listen, I think I could. I think that wouldn't be my problem.
Your balance would be the bigger problem. Balance. That's fair.
I would. Yeah. I was the kid that like if you hit me hard enough, I went flying in soccer.
That's
I had terrible balance.
Julie drops her ball first, followed by Jake. Katura falters, recovers, then drops. Drew is unbalanced a lot.
He's wobbling all over the place. I don't know what the heck is happening.
He makes a great recovery, then he drops the ball immediately. So long, Drew. And it comes down to 19 minutes in. It comes down to Austin and Dee.
What an athletic couple. Great smack talk flirting.
Yes.
Between the two of them.
Great smack talk flirting.
Great television.
That would have been great if there was a kiss. But great television nonetheless. So much smack talk flirting here. Ultimately, Austin drops the ball, which means Dee wins. Dee is safe.
Did Dee even move the whole time?
She didn't look to wobble once.
I think Dee was a soccer player, and I'm gonna argue Dee was probably a defender. She has the build for it.
Yeah.
And she has the steadiness of defense.
Yeah.
I think Dee played soccer, and I want to know.
There's a good chance. There's a good chance she probably played soccer. I could see that.
Yeah.
She's obviously athletic, and if she had to play any sport, I think she's too short to play basketball. Could she have done lacrosse? Maybe. It depends where she's from. I don't remember where she's from.
I don't remember what.
I don't remember where exactly she's from.
Well, because also the state that she lives in now might not be where she grew up. And
exactly.
It's mostly an East Coast thing, right?
Lacrosse?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But she could have played lacrosse.
There's a chance. Was field hockey?
No.
She could be a
I
weird.
don't get the field hockey vibe from her.
She could be a weird field hockey person.
She could be a softball player.
I think the fact that.
I think it's more likely that she was soccer.
That's probably accurate. I have to see how fast she runs. That now I would determine from there.
Well, not necessarily. That's why I'm saying defense. If she's not a fast runner, they're not always fast. They don't always have to be.
That's a good point.
If they're, they can work around that. A good defender can work around that.
They can work it out. That's a High School Musical reference, folks. Thank you.
I can only assume that there's like a applause or something or a laugh track.
Just assume that there is. Whenever I press a button, assume it's that.
Yeah.
Back at camp, we got
and I can just assume that whenever you press a button when I say something, that it's a fart noise or something.
I don't have a fart noise pre-saved. I only have 2 other buttons I haven't pressed, but they're just like music stingers. Back at camp, some competitive flirting continues between Austin and Dee. Jake and Julie talk about Jake's game. This is a very interesting moment. This is the big pivotal moment of the episode.
This is what we've been wanting from him since that tribal where he was like, I'm going to dogpile on everybody.
I gotta play. Someone's got to play the game of Survivor. Jake finally plays the game of Survivor here, folks.
And I think he now has the power of an idol. Like, I think
he knows he's safe, so he's like, I'm willing to go for it.
Yeah, you have a little more bravery when you have something else to cover your butt, because he doesn't have alliances to cover his butt.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fair point. He has loose alliances, but he doesn't have an alliance to cover his butt. So, like, the only thing that can empower him enough to make a move is safety. And I'm proud of him for taking an opportunity to do something, get off his butt and do something, like he said, and go find an idol.
Yeah, this is a big late-stage gameplay for Jake here. So Jake basically pitches to Julie the idea of blindsiding Drew. It's a great pitch. Julie loves hearing it. Again, there is an aspect of this is a great move by Jake. He feels safety. He's willing to go out of his comfort zone and make plays and play Survivor. That being said, the dramatic irony of the whole thing is it's not the biggest move because Julie and Dee were already thinking about voting Drew. But that's besides the point. Jake, they need numbers if it's just going to be the 2 of them. Jake is like, I'm willing to be that number. And not only be like
but instead of saying I'm your number, he's like I want to do this.
Again, going back to the tree analogy from last week, where he's like, I just want to be a number this week. He is making a play where he thinks he's in control and he's making the move and all this stuff. Ultimately, he's kind of a number to what Dee and Julie want to do. So he's still, when he tries to step out, he's ultimately still just being a number.
But he is the one that brings in Katora.
That is fair. Yes, he's
the one that gives it the momentum to have numbers.
Yes.
Because to be fair, like, I think you're not giving him enough credit.
Yeah.
Remember that Dee and Julie want Drew, right?
Yeah.
But everyone wanted Julie last week.
Correct.
Everyone.
Correct.
So how do they know who to start with?
Yeah. Ooh.
Who won't vote Julie this time?
So we get the interesting moment where Jake pitches to Katora the same idea of let's blindside Drew. However, and this is maybe where I disagree with Jake here, Jake says that he wants to go do his Caleb plan. Now, if we recall his Caleb plan, it was that he wanted to specifically split the vote evenly down the middle. He wanted to do Jake, Julie, and Katora. He wants to evenly split the vote so that they go to rocks, and then he can convince Dee and Austin to vote.
No, they don't go to rocks. They go to a revote between the 2 first, right?
I believe they would go to rocks.
I think they go to a revote between the 2, and then if it's still a tie, I think they go to rocks.
That might be true. Yeah, I think you're right. But ultimately, he's saying I believe he's saying that revote would then be 3-on-3 again, and he's saying or something or whatever, basically saying that he wants it to be a dead even, so that then he can convince 2 people to flip.
Or 1 person.
Yeah, basically he's doing this plan again where he's like, instead of the easy thing of let's get 4 people to vote, he is doing the harder thing of I want to make a play in front of the jury to convince them that I should be, like, basically he's like, I want to raise my threat level and tell everyone this plan that is going to raise my threat level, making me impressive in front of the jury.
But this is the time to raise your threat level.
True, but it's also like it also might not work at all.
But to be fair though, like, he doesn't know that Dee and Julie are working together, right? He still thinks that Austin, Dee, and Drew are like tight.
Correct.
So,
and his fear here, obviously in this moment, really is, I think Dee is still working with Austin and Drew. I don't want to tell Dee because it's going to ruin my plan.
Right, and also like, how do you convince one of them to flip? You convince them by showing them that 3 people are not with them. Like, it's 50-50, like, it's easy for one of you to flip. But also, like, he doesn't know Dee is working with Julie. Shit, I forgot my thought.
No, you're fine. He doesn't know that D is working with Julie. He assumes that it's going to be a split vote no matter what, and he's just going to have to convince him. He would rather convince him on the day in the moment, and instead of convince him at camp where he can potentially lose his plan. So it is what it is. Katurah, he's like, don't tell anybody, Katurah, because it's going to ruin my plan.
He says to Katurah, don't tell Dee, because he doesn't want her to tell Dee. Doesn't say that to Julie, because again, that shows me he doesn't know that Dee and Julie are still tight.
Exactly, which proves that Dee's acting worked earlier in the episode.
And then Katurah immediately
turns around immediately.
Well, we don't know how immediately, but in the edit,
practically immediately turns to Dee and pitches to Dee about. They basically I think actually what the moment is, and the edit is very funny. It's this moment of he's like, and Katurah, do not tell Dee. It might ruin my plan. Please don't tell Dee. Smash cut to Katurah and Dee looking at each other, going like 3, 2, 1, Drew.
That was a really good edit. I honestly, okay, can we take a pause real quick?
Sure.
I think underrated MVPs of the episodes. I think of this one and the boys' night especially, but like of all the episodes, I think I already have my MVP for the episodes, and it's the editors.
Yeah, the editors.
Shout out to the editors.
Yeah, the editors
Y'all
have
are
been great.
killing it this season.
Yeah.
Very, very, very happy with some of the choices you have made.
Yeah. It's just very comical. They're doing a lot of comedy, and I appreciate it. It's very entertaining.
I get you have a lot to work with. Like they're getting a lot from people.
Oh, yeah.
But like, shout out to the editors.
The editing team for Survivor is so fantastic because just think about how much footage they have to comb through and to structure an episode. Think about that.
Should we have one of our editing friends come on as a guest one time?
Yeah. Just be like, imagine editing.
So you have to tell us how much work
you have to put 90 minutes together. I guess it's probably an hour 14 or something.
You have like 24 hours of footage
basically.
For every day.
I don't think you actually have 24 hours.
No, it's probably more like 16 or 18.
Yeah,
because they have like camp cams or whatever.
Yeah. And I think they have a night team and a day team, so I think they can split up to 12 hours.
They have a lot of footage.
They got a lot of footage, folks.
Hopefully it's well organized. Hopefully they have good assistants.
It has to be.
But shout out to the editors here. Anyway.
So Katurah pitches to Dee about voting Drew, despite Jake not wanting that. Dee. Then we get this moment. So obviously now it's Julie, Dee, Jake, and Katurah are all voting Drew.
Yeah.
Another situation similar to last week where it was. Austin knew that Julie was getting a vote for, didn't also want to blindside Julie. He was very nervous about it. He ultimately decides to tell Dee, which then turns into Dee starting this acting play and Julie playing the idol to make herself safe, right? Yeah. Here we have this moment where Dee says she is worried about lying to Austin. The exact same situation. I'm worried about blindsiding Austin. Same situation, almost the same dialogue as the episode prior of Austin being all worried about, lying to Dee. Yeah. She's now worried about lying to Austin. As we know earlier in the episode, she is willing to lie to Austin about whether or not she told Julie, where he is not willing to lie to her.
Which honestly, I think is I'm happy that she's willing to lie to Austin.
Why is that?
Because, I get it. In real life, you don't really want to lie to people. But, we always get this thing of, women are emotional and they can't see past their emotions and, they make emotional decisions. And, that a lot of that does happen. We finally get a dynamic.
Yeah.
Where the woman is not, she's emotional, but she's not blinded by her emotions.
She's emotional, and she's saying that, how hard of a decision it is. Same sort of thing with Austin, of,
but
how hard
she's still able to be level-headed.
And separate that emotion.
Yeah.
Austin was unable to separate the emotion from his gameplay. Here, Dee was able to separate her emotion from her gameplay, lied to Austin about not telling Julie earlier, and now here, seemingly, doesn't tell Austin.
Yeah.
About what is happening.
I have a thought on that because, yes, maybe it was strategic for her, but I honestly think that strategically it was better that Austin didn't know for the jury vote.
Oh, 100%.
Does it make him
100%.
look like a little clueless? A little bit, but he hasn't been clueless this whole game, so I don't think that will kill his game. But like, you could argue, being D, like, I couldn't tell you because I couldn't risk you ruining it, but also Drew was pissed all day.
Yeah.
Drew was not in a place to be like blindsided by his biggest ally and respect that.
Yeah.
Like, if he was not pissed all day, if he was like, you know, in a better headspace, he might respect being blindsided by his closest ally. But Drew on the jury, if he found out that you knew,
yeah, that's gonna hurt.
Would poison them
jury.
against you.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like he was pissed.
Yeah.
He had 2 moments where he was already like pissed, like 2 reasons to be super pissed at Austin, and the third nail in the coffin of Drew's jury vote for Austin would have been if Austin was involved in the blind side. And if Austin wasn't involved in the blind side, he still has Drew's vote.
Yeah, there's an argument that he still has Drew's vote. He might respect D's play, though, and there's that argument.
Yeah, but I think you could argue
right.
that it's better that he wasn't involved for Austin's game, too.
Mm-hmm. We have, speaking of Drew and Austin, we do have a moment where they talk about how easy it is. And Drew, and it's not one of those moments of, like, people getting paranoid, just being like, man, it's so easy. It shouldn't be this easy. We've had those moments a lot during the season.
It's a cocky moment, especially with Drew.
It's Drew just being like, yeah, you know, it makes sense that it's been easy because I have sort of, and he says I. He doesn't say we. He says I have been in control of the camp ever since the merge. You know, we get this moment all episode of Drew just getting pissed over and over again about other people doing dumb things, getting in his way, and the moment he gets this inflated ego over the course of the season where it becomes to a head in this episode. He's just like, yeah, it's easy. I've been controlling the game the entire time. Everything's been super easy. He talks about it with the Reba 4 earlier, a couple weeks ago, where he's like, yeah, we've just been wrecking people, and no one's stopping us.
Does Drew never use his safety without power?
Correct.
Could he have used it? When does it stop working? After 5?
I don't remember if it's the merge or after 5. I would have to look that up again. I don't remember.
I think it worked after the merge because I remember there being like a moment where Drew was like, and I could just walk away.
Yeah. I think you might be right.
Because it was given to him when Caleb went to the camps right before the merge.
Yes.
And what? Like...
I totally forgot that he had that, by the way. Totally forgot that.
Austin played his amulet because why wouldn't you play it, right? It's the last time you can play it. This is probably the last time you could have used that safety without power. Why not just use it anyway? If you think all the votes are going on Julie and everything's going as according to plan, why not just use it? Why not just leave? Why not ensure if you can use it? I don't know. He had no idea. I think part of it is he had no idea that any votes were going against him. And he should have known. He should have known that Julie would go for him.
Yeah.
He should have known that Julie would have put at least some votes on him. Because didn't she, like...
No, it which can be used at any tribal council until the final 10.
Oh, okay. So he couldn't use it?
I believe that's probably the merge.
But he never used it?
Never used it.
Interesting.
And then he never used it, and then he was completely, like he says, in control of the merge the entire gameplay. There's the argument of like, well, one, you're too ego driven here. It's not it's we. It was the Reba 4 really controlling things. But there's also the argument of, well, I can sort of see what he's talking about because, you know, he was kind of leading the Reba 4 a lot. He voted out Kelly. He got Caleb out. He wanted Bruce gone, and really that was Emily, but you know that got someone he's been gunning for a very long time. You know, they helped get Kendra out. You know, they helped get a lot of these people out.
He was leading with the power of Austin's advantages.
Oh yeah,
like those were like their pocket power.
Yeah, his best power was his ability to be a great strategic social player and just kind of let people make the decisions and let them think that it was their idea and let people just like do all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, what do you think? And then they're telling me like, oh, that's great, knowing that he has all the idea. He was so great, but he sort of becomes a villain in this last episode. He's just pissed off. Everything's easy.
He just got cocky.
So when we cut to Tribal Council, there was nothing really exciting Tribal Council other than the continuation of Drew's ego game. He starts talking a massive game, starts saying that like basically that I'm not thinking about this Tribal Council, I'm thinking about the end. And Jeff's like, that's a lot. And he says something along the lines of like, oh, I can easily get past this one, and he's like, he's sitting there being like, yeah, I'm not worried about this Tribal Council. I'm getting to the end. No big deal.
So cocky.
It's so cocky, such a big ego. Turns into a pure villain here in this last two episodes really. And then ultimately, I guess to just close out shop here, Drew gets votes 4-2. Austin stands to play his amulet. There's that moment where maybe he's gonna vote for Drew. Maybe D told him no. D
he has no idea.
No idea. Plays it for himself. So D blindsided Austin here and blindsides Drew. Drew goes home 4-2. Thank you to Jake rounding up the troops and D not telling Austin.
Yeah. Which
Drew
honestly,
goes home.
again, like I think she really can play that to him and be like, "It's better that you didn't know. It's better for my game, and it's better for your game." If Drew found out
we had to separate you
on the jury that you were involved in this, you would lose his vote, and who knows if he would have been mad enough to poison people against you.
Exactly,
and say before. Like I did everything that Austin did or whatever.
It's happened before. Just look at the
because he was pissed. He was in a bad spot at the end.
Oh, pissed! They all mentioned it. It was like, oh, he's pissed. He walks away, doesn't say goodbye to anybody. He just gets his torch snuffed out and then leaves.
Yeah,
super
which
pissed.
Got me a lot of points. But.
Well, okay, right. But he's super pissed at the end of this episode, and everyone's like, "Holy shit, this guy is mad."
And I'm mad too because you know what? All of my dream final three is gone.
Which was
Sabaya, Emily, and Drew. Can you imagine the conversation that would happen with three very well-spoken, opinionated people sitting together? Like with vastly different personalities, arguing for $1 million. That would have been, for me, honestly, very entertaining.
We still have the possibility of the three lawyers. That could be fun.
That could be, well, yeah, but
it'd be boring. I don't think
not as fun.
Yeah,
because I think the fact like Sabaya, Emily, and Drew, all very well spoken, all very like strategic. But also very different. Like they all have a very different way of going about things. Yeah. So you're gonna get Emily who like blurts out things. You're gonna get Drew who like tries to use the biggest word in his vocabulary. And you're gonna get Sabaya who has like that quiet, calm, like cutting. Yeah. Like word
straight to the point. Straight to the point a little.
It would just be.
It'd be great. And Drew does these like flowery analogies that Jeff loves.
And then Sabaya would just be like, I don't know what you're talking about, but that's not what happened. And then Emily would be like, just very blunt. Emily Blunt. Emily being blunt. I don't know. That was my dream final three. Yeah. In terms of how the actual conversation and interrogation would go. Yeah. But that's not going to happen anymore. And I'm coming to terms with it.
Drew's gone. He's eliminated here, obviously. Thoughts on Drew's gameplay, and I guess the overall thought of what went wrong?
I don't know when it happened, but like I think getting through, I don't know. You would think that losing the Julie vote would make him less cocky.
A great point. That almost invigorated him to like, he doubled down.
Well, I think what made him more cocky was, well, at least everyone was with us. The only thing was Julie played an idol, which was Austin's fault. Yeah. But like you would think that would knock him down a peg of like, we can't control everything. We got to be prepared for everything.
Yeah. If they split the votes, someone still could have gone out that wasn't Emily. But he was okay. He said he was ultimately okay with Emily in the episode. Yeah. It's like, I got Emily out with no blood on my hands.
Well, you didn't get her out.
I agree.
Julie did.
He started taking things for his own because he's got ego.
But I think like that should have knocked him down a peg to be like, we're in this moment where like one person can change everything, and we really should be prepared for that. And I'm a little disappointed that I feel like it's easy to get cocky like once you're getting down to like from the final 10 down to like 6. Yeah. But I think once you get down to 6, it's like literally one person could change the whole game. And I think you need to be extra cautious, which I think like D is being very good at recognizing. I think even Jake is really good at recognizing that like one person can change this whole thing. Like we have to be prepared. Like everyone is.
Emily realized that with Bruce.
Yeah, and for some reason, Drew is more inflated.
Well, it's also the interesting idea of like ultimately what went wrong for Drew for me was him deciding to split away from Reba 4, which in ultimate we had said at the time was like in the last episode a good idea of like, oh, okay, I can now it's Reba 4 in full control versus these 3 outliers. If I work with the 3 outliers, then we have the control. I can put myself in the power position and get out Drew or D or Austin or Julie or whatever. I could get out some of the Reba 4 members, right? Made sense. But, and I just said that he's a very good social strategic player, unable to put that together, unable to really, he was able to get the votes together, obviously, but unable to fight. He's able to get votes together. He's able to do all these things. He's able to be a good strategic player, but he's unable to do that against his own Reba 4 teammates. He cannot do that against Austin. He can't do that against D, and he can't do that to Julie because they know him and they all have their own strong relationships. He thinks that he can just sort of play these people and play the loser camp of Emily, Drew, Emily, Jake, and Katora, and he thinks he can just play the Reba 4 members. Turns out he can't.
It's like pick on someone your own size.
Yeah.
And once you do, you lose.
Yeah. He thought, oh, I can just do that. No problem. And then the moment he did that, it all fell apart because he was working with Austin. Austin told D. He forgot about D and Austin's relationship. He just sort of said, oh, Austin will be listening to me and we're good. And D will just listen and we're good.
Yeah.
Because that's how it's been the entire season. In his mindset.
I'm shocked that nobody called bullshit on D saying I didn't tell Julie. Who else would have told Julie?
Yeah, there's no conversation at all. Obviously, Drew early in the episode says, oh, there's a bad actor here. No one ever picks up, seemingly, that it was D.
I mean, and to be fair, like...
People, if anything, I would maybe guess that Drew thinks Austin told Julie. He knows that Austin told D.
Yeah, but it's like... I guess there's a thing of trust of like they really trust these people, but maybe too much to a fault. I also think that like it's not necessarily that he can't strategize against his own alliance. I think that he didn't account for the step up. Yeah. It was like he strategized against his own alliance the same way he did against people who were on the bottom the whole game,
who didn't have alliances with each other.
Yeah.
Instead, now he's fighting.
He didn't step it up.
Yes, he's now fighting against people who have strong relationships and alliances with each other, and it ultimately ruined him.
He's been bringing a gun to a knife fight the whole game, and then forgot to bring a bigger gun to a small gun fight.
The audience loves it. Yeah.
I don't know if I like the idea of a gun joke. Maybe I'll change that.
He was bringing a gun to a knife fight.
Let's not make it a gun knife fight joke.
He was bringing a Nerf gun to a Nerf knife fight.
No, he brought a knife to a hand fight the whole time and didn't bring a sword to a knife fight. Let's go that way. How about that?
No.
I just don't like the gun analogies.
That's fair. That's fine.
We don't need to be talking about gunfights.
Drew is a good player. I think there's a good chance he could have won if he was able to make it to the end. I think he could have had a good thing. I think, like we said, it would have been hard for him to separate his game from a lot of people, but I think he easily could have. And I think with all of his analogies and everything, he easily could have. Him going out here could be good because I don't think he's going to poison the water hole of the jury too much based on his anger.
Especially the fact that Austin didn't know. And like...
I think that if I had to guess, I think that's going to be his question. If Austin's in the final 3, that is going to be his question.
What role did you play in getting me out?
Yes, and he'd be like, I had no idea. And who did? And D will be like, that was me.
Yeah.
And, unless it's Jake.
It'd be like
Jake could be like, that was me.
Yeah.
D could be like, it was also me. It was basically Jake came up with the idea, and D being like, I chose not to tell Austin.
Yeah.
Even though he told me about and she can reveal that, and that's a good moment for D is being like, Austin told me about the Julie thing,
and I told Julie,
and that's what
we took control of that vote.
Yes, and then I acted and acted, and then ultimately, then Jake got the momentum, and I was able to keep up that lie and ultimately get Drew out.
Now here's the thing: there's only one more tribal where they can vote people out, right?
There is
Final 5.
Yes, they have one more tribal. They vote people out. Then final 4. It is a battle over fire, fire making, and then it's the final 3.
So here's the thing.
Yes.
This is where Dee needs to go for Julie, right? Because, like you just said, she has at least 2 instances of things where she can point to and say, yeah, Austin had no idea I did this. Austin had no idea I did this.
She has a separate game from Austin.
Yeah. However, she's been tag teaming with Julie in those situations.
And Julie's the one that ultimately plays her idol and stuff.
Right. She is the one that told Julie to play her idol and they're going to vote Emily. Yeah. And convinced her to vote Emily. But if she's sitting next to Julie, like that's a harder convincing than to be like Julie on the jury. Like
That's fair. I agree with exactly what you're saying. In my opinion, I still think her game is better than Julie's. I mean, she's also got 2 community challenges and everything. But yes, you're right.
Having her next to her versus on the jury, like
it helps.
You need a little bit of separation.
Julie for Dee is a way better jury person than being next to, because Julie understands everything Dee has done in this game.
And also, like, yes, Julie's going to try and force her, if she's on the jury, to separate her game from hers.
Yeah.
But she also might try to help her separate her game from hers. If Julie knows she's no longer on the line for $1 million versus sitting next to each other, Julie's going to try and force her to separate her game.
Yeah.
Like in a different way.
Yeah.
She's going to be like, I think that's what I mean. Like on the jury, she's going to try and help her separate her game.
Yeah.
But if they're next to each other, she's going to force her to be like, what did you do that I wasn't involved in?
Yeah.
So I think this is where she needs to go for Julie.
I agree.
Or if she wins the challenge where she chooses people, you don't pick Julie.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
you sent Julie to fire?
Actually, is it better to turn around and blindside her before and win that little bit of respect from her versus just not picking her when it comes to a jury vote?
I don't know. I think...
Like, what do you think Julie would respect more? I think Julie would respect a play more than a passive not picking her.
Yeah, but Julie... I don't know, because I don't think Julie's that much of like an emotional person. I don't think she would really care either way. I think she would respect both, ultimately.
Yeah, but I don't think it's an emotional thing. I think it's like a Julie would respect like an intention of like...
Sure.
Well played. I could see her being like, well played, Dee. You played me really well.
Yeah.
Versus being like, oh, you just didn't pick me.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing in the Drew sense of like it would be an emotional vote. But I think when Julie would go to weigh like, oh, yeah, Dee got me out, but like she just didn't pick me. Does that really weigh a lot? Mm-hmm. Versus, oh, my greatest ally strategized against me and got me out. Like, I kind of respect that. Like, I think it weighs more, not necessarily emotionally, but strategically, if she's intentionally gets Julie out versus just not picking her.
I agree.
That's my thought. I think this is where she needs to go for Julie. Because you can sit next to Jay, you can sit next to Katora, you can even sit next to Austin.
Yeah. Let's talk about Final 5 then.
Okay.
We're in the finale. We have Final 5, and then we have winners and everything. Obviously, well, maybe not obviously.
Nothing's obvious anymore.
Jake has an idol. Mm-hmm. Seemingly, he can play the idol and waltz straight into the Final 4. I would say, obviously, Jake is in the Final 4. However, Jake has also stated that he would like to not necessarily use his idol for himself, but use it for a move that can bolster his chance in front of the jury.
Which that could be revealing that he has an idol at the Final 4 or at the jury.
Or it could be, for whatever reason...
Which is what Marianne did.
Yes. Or it could be, for whatever reason... Marianne's is more impressive because she had it for way longer.
I was about to say, I was going to let you finish before I said, but in his, like...
He had it
to Marianne's
2
credit,
days.
she had it like the whole game.
Yes.
And he had it for like 2 votes, yeah.
Yes. So it's really not that impressive. A more impressive thing that I think he's thinking is to do something in front of the jury, and that is to probably play it for somebody.
Yeah.
Who the hell would Jake play it for to save them going in? I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea. I think it's going to be gung-ho of the moment. Yeah. So someone's going to be safe going into Final 4. Someone's going to be immune, obviously, because they'll win the immunity challenge.
Because who of the people that are left would Jake be willing to sit next to other than Katora? Which Katora's probably already going to be picked.
I think Katora's third place.
I think Katora's in the final 3. I think Austin, Julie, and Dee are not going to all take each other.
No.
And they shouldn't.
They shouldn't.
I think
Julie might be gone.
I think Julie, like, Austin's not going to take Julie. He may take Dee, but he's not going to take Julie, so that leaves one spot. Julie's going to maybe would take Dee, but I think she's smart enough to know that she can't sit next to Dee in the final 3.
Yeah.
I think Dee's also smart enough to know that she can't take both Julie and Austin, and she probably shouldn't take. I think
There's actually an argument that because her game is actually really so separate from Austin that she should take Austin.
But here's the thing. I'm worried that she won't take Austin because she's worried that she might sit there and go, I shouldn't take Julie because our games are too close. I need to separate myself. Should I take Austin? It is, I think, strategically better for her to take Austin than it is to take Julie.
Correct.
But I'm worried that she's going to overthink it and say, am I just picking Austin because I'm emotionally connected to him? And I think she might back out of taking Austin because she's trying not to play an emotional game. And I'm hoping that she can step back and see that, yes, it might look like the emotional choice, but it also is a strategic choice to take him if you have to pick between him and Julie. Like, I'm hoping that she doesn't overthink it and go, I shouldn't take Austin because I'm trying not to play with my emotions.
Which, to be fair, we know that she's able to do.
Yes, but I'm hoping that she can, like, see past the initial...
You're hoping that she continues that.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that she sees past the initial, like, layer of, Dee, trust yourself. You're not picking Austin just because of your emotions. Like,
yeah,
trust your gut. I hope she trusts her gut because right now, like, her intuition and her gut has been pretty good this whole game.
Yeah.
And I hope that she trusts that and doesn't, like, overthink of, my gut says to pick Austin, but is that because I'm just emotionally, like, connected to him?
Right now,
I think she has a better chance against Austin than she does against Julie.
I think that Katora is getting to third place. I think someone is going to pick Katora to go into the final 3, and it's going to be either at fire making. It's either going to be Jake. I think it's going to be Jake versus Julie or Austin.
Yeah.
It just
because
comes
if
down
Jake gets in the final 3, you're not too worried, but you do want him to knock one of them out.
Yes, and Jake would want to do that.
Yeah,
Jake wants to impress himself. He needs something. Katora also needs something, but I think Jake will want it more probably.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know who's better at making fire. We saw Katora and Jake making fire together.
Yeah.
I don't know who's better at it. We don't have that idea yet. But I think it's Jake or Katora going to fire. I think it's easier to take Katora. I think right now there's the argument of Jake was involved in getting Drew out. So Katora has the weaker case. So bring Katora with you. She's an easy third place vote thing. And then, Jake can get a second. Or do fire.
It's like, you have to really weigh, like, what case you think Katora and Jake would make at the jury to think whoever has the least amount, I think you make them make fire. Because if you think, like, Jake's building a case for himself, you don't want to bolster that.
Sure. That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
It's, like, easy to say, like, if you're,
it comes down to
0-11
yeah.
and you get one win, like, that's not as bad as, like, if you're, like, 4 and I'm doing math in my head, 4 and 7 or 3 and 8 and you get another win. You know what I mean?
It comes down to who's a better fire maker.
Yeah.
But we're also thinking the D spot. I think we're thinking sort of.
We're kind of assuming D's gonna
win here.
It's either gonna be D or Austin. I think that wins a challenge.
Yeah, I think because the next challenge, and
I hope it's D picking though.
Yeah, I don't know we don't know what the final 5 challenge is, but final 4 is typically the simulation, whatever the name of it. I don't remember names of the
something where the balls.
Yes, it's the balls on the track. Assuming they do that again.
It's going to be something like that. If it's not that.
Assuming they do that again, I don't think Jake's going to be good at that.
No, he's going to get flustered. I think Julie's really steady. Julie might have a good chance.
Yeah.
I think Katura could have a good chance if she gets in it. I think Katura has a hard time getting into a challenge, but once she does, she can be pretty steady.
Sure.
But I think she has a hard time. Like, Julie and Dee and Austin right out the gate are on it and are usually like...
Yeah.
Especially Julie is steady as a rock. And so is Dee.
Steady as a rock.
I think Katura has a hard time getting into it. Yeah. And if she gets into it, like if she gets into a groove, I think she does pretty well. She doesn't like she's not like D where like she doesn't move the whole challenge, but I don't know.
We're under the assumption right now that D might be the winner. That's where we're sort of both sort of picking. What happens if D gets eliminated at 5? What does it look like? Let's just have the place open and talk about.
I think there's a chance that, I don't know. I would say Austin is the one picking, but I think Julie might.
If D gets eliminated at 5, who goes to that? Who then wins, and then who?
I think Julie wins.
Julie could win the whole thing.
No, I mean
the simulation. And then who goes to fire? Jake and Austin. Austin's the person that you need to knock out at that point.
Do you think Julie would put herself in fire? Do you think?
I don't know how good Julie's. I don't know how anyone's fire making skills are. Honestly,
I think if she's not against D, I don't know, because she probably is like, I have enough against D that like we can separate ourselves. I think she probably feels pretty confident in that. I think she might want to prove herself against Austin, but at the same time, I don't think Julie hasn't shown that she feels the need to prove herself.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that everyone put her name down that one time, and she might feel like she needs to like do something big again. But she kind of did do something big already.
Has she won immunity yet?
I think she has, or at least she won a reward. She's won a challenge, hasn't she?
I think she's won a challenge.
Should I look it up real quick?
Sure. But yeah, I think if D's out, I think no matter what, we get a fire of Jake or Katora versus Austin. I think at that point, Austin's the person you need to knock out. Maybe honestly, Mama. People keep saying that everyone likes Mama J, and that there's this big threat of you have to get Mama J out because everyone likes her on the jury. So maybe you vote Julie out at 5, or try to knock out Julie at fire making. Which then would save D going in.
Yeah.
It seems like, if I were them, it sounds like the better target right now is to get Julie out at 5, no matter what. And then coming down to fire, I would say you probably have to knock Austin out. Katora, Jake, and D, I think. It's either Austin or D, and I think it comes down to who wins, if it's either D or Austin, and then who gets picked along.
Yeah.
Maybe there's the argument of, like, Jake wins the Final Four immunity challenge, and brings Katora with them, and then it's D versus Austin at the fire making. Which is very romantic and lovely, and they have to build a fire together and knock each other out.
Yeah. We're definitely getting a kiss in the post.
There fucking better be.
So my gut says Julie's gonna win that challenge that brings them to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Because Julie has, I don't know how many times, at least twice, definitely multiple times during Bruce's like winning streak, she was second.
Yeah.
Multiple times. And I think that gets overlooked because she hasn't won an individual challenge yet, and Austin has and Dee has. But I think it's overlooked that, like, first of all, the 2 oldest players in the game of this season were first and second in multiple challenges, but also like she's in there. Was close to beating Bruce multiple times when everyone else didn't. And I would love, because I've talked about it a couple times so far, the fact that like normally when people get labeled by other players as the mama figure, like they get them out because like that just happens. Like they're like, oh, no one wants their mom around. I think it helped that Bruce took that mantle this season.
Yeah.
But she also took ownership of the mama title.
Yeah.
And she was the cool mom. And I really think that Julie will dig deep on this one. She wants an immunity win. She's been so close. She wants that win. And I think she's going to dig deep, and I think she's going to win this challenge this next time.
It's possible.
I really think so.
It's plausible.
Especially like when it comes to like if it's a challenge of like mental grit and like focus versus physical grit. Like Julie's athletic and she's a physical person, but like Dee and Austin are very athletic. If it comes to like the ball challenge where it's like focus and determination, I think she's steady. She's steady as a rock.
Steady as a rock.
I really think she's going. But yeah, also I would love to see Dee and Austin making fire against each other.
Yeah, I think
because there's going to be a whole montage about sparks flying. Mm-hmm. Do you think Jeff is going to be like, man, the sparks are flying right now?
I hope so. Yeah, I think.
Sorry, I'm shouting because I'm excited.
I think it's either Dee and Austin in the final 3, or it's Dee and Austin at fire.
I would love if Julie made Dee and Austin make fire against each other.
Yeah, if Julie is able to be that winner there, then I think she...
Which would mean that Katora and Jake, one of them is gone, but...
Yeah, and we would assume, I guess, then Katora, because Jake would seemingly be safe going in because he played his idol for himself.
Yeah.
Jake could honestly, whatever his idol play is, and honestly, who knows what it's going to be, can rapidly change whatever this whole situation is going to be. And like I said, literally have no idea who's good at making fire. I don't think we ever got a single montage this season of like, man, you're really good at making fire.
No, we just got a little bit of fire making.
By Jake and Katora.
Because I think, honestly, people haven't been... It hasn't been the crux of anyone's game so far of like, I need to make fire. I think it should be for maybe Jake or Katora. Mm-hmm. But I kind of actually like that people aren't playing to that right now. And we're still getting people trying to make moves like Jake other than I need to be making fire.
Yeah.
Like there's still last-ditch effort moves they're trying to make before they get to that point of I need to make fire to win this game.
Yeah.
So I kind of appreciate that this season. But
any other thoughts on Final Five scenarios?
No.
Before we get to it, we should probably get to the ending here. MVP talk for this episode 12. We sort of talked about it when we stopped watching the episode, is that there's really two people that we thought of, and it's really between Dee or Jake. Mm-hmm. Dee wins immunity. She's also doesn't tell Austin, which helps lead to Drew going home. Jake finds an idol, doesn't play it, successfully, I guess, doesn't play it, and is the one that really pushes the momentum, the ball forward on getting Drew out.
Like, he thinks it was his plan, and like you said, it really wasn't his plan, but he is the one that adds momentum to it, because otherwise it's Julie and Dee sitting there going, everyone was against Julie, who can we flip?
I guess to defend Jake, it was his plan, it was their target.
Yes, but he's the one that gave it momentum by being like, we're not going to dogpile on you again.
There's also the argument against Jake where his plan didn't work, didn't happen. His plan was to not tell Dee and for it to be a 3-3 split. He got Drew out ultimately. That's the person that was his target, but he wanted to go to rocks and convince the jury. So his plan ultimately kind of went right, but didn't happen the way he wanted it to happen.
But then couple that with the fact that like Dee's working from ahead.
Yeah.
He's working from behind.
Yeah.
And instead of caving in and just, Hey now. Yeah. Instead of caving in and just, being like, I'm kind of stuck where I am.
Yeah.
He took the opportunity to find an advantage, and he did find one.
Correct.
Because he was like, I got to do something. And instead of just like wallowing around camp, he took the time. He found an advantage.
Yep.
He also, decided not to dogpile again. And he was like, I'm not going to I'm going to make a move. Whether or not it's the biggest move he could have made, whatever. He's literally been on the bottom this whole game. And in an instance where like it's easy to just do the easy vote and get to the final five, he decided not to do that finally.
Yeah.
I feel like
it's interesting what this episode result would have been if Jake didn't find the idol.
Yeah.
Would he have still decided to make a move and make a play at Drew, not knowing that he's not safe? Because we're making the argument of like he did that because he was safe. Would he have still done it if he wasn't safe? He didn't find the idol. Would he have still tried to make a move like that, or would he have jog piled on Julie?
I don't know, because it definitely was like maybe it sped the process up a little bit. Sure. Maybe he wouldn't have got to that conclusion in time, but I think finding an idol definitely gave him the adrenaline to be like, fuck this, I'm not sitting around on my ass anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm not letting them make all the decisions for me.
Yeah.
So I think it's easy to say like he didn't make the biggest move in the episode, but he did cover the biggest ground of like he's literally on the bottom. Yeah. Like his name wasn't necessarily being put out this episode, but it has been the whole game. Dee's coming from a position of power.
Yes.
And I think it holds more weight that like he's going against that. Or not against her power, but like against like everyone else having more power than him in this game.
Yeah.
And trying to do something about it. So that's my argument for
There's also,
Jake.
if I do the pros and cons of Dee, Dee obviously wins immunity. She has a target. She doesn't tell Austin. These are all pivotal points in this episode for Dee. And the con against D is that, in a weird way, in terms of specifically this episode, this is almost a part 2 to the previous episode of D's master play here.
It's not as effective the second time around, okay? I'm just kidding.
It is still very effective, and I don't recall who we said. I believe we both said D, maybe, for last episode.
I think we did.
But this is sort of a part, and maybe there's a pro and con to that, but this is sort of a part 2 to how that plays. This wouldn't have been as impressive for D if it wasn't in conjunction with Austin's playing last episode. Does that help her case? Does that hurt her case? That's for us to answer. Do you have who
your
you
exit
think?
Buddy?
Do you have your exit buddy?
Yes, I do.
And then do you also have who you think is going to be MVP in your head?
Yes.
I think I know for a fact who you're going to say. Ready? 3, 2, 1, D.
Jake.
Yeah, I knew.
You just said D because you didn't want to give me 10 points.
No, I said D because winning immunity and allowing Jake to have the plan to get her target out, and she could have blown up Jake's plan even more than Katora already did by telling Austin.
Yeah, I just think that
and her winning, to me,
it takes more guts to make moves and do stuff like that when you know that you're at the bottom and you're an easy one to vote out.
I think that's the thing. It does take more guts, but he did it with an idol.
He found an idol.
No, but that's my point. Is that if he did the Drew play without an idol, I would have respected it even more.
Yeah, it's fair.
But since he doesn't actually make an active play in this game until he has an idol. I'm sort of I give him a slight. It's still a lot of points, but still less points.
But for me, it's it's still an active play to decide I'm not going to sit around and babysit. I'm not going to work for Austin right now. I'm going to go work for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go find an idol. And that to me is also valuable. Yes, the idol gave him power to make that move, but he wouldn't have had that had he not said, I'm not working for Austin right now. He wants me to babysit Julie. I'm going to go do my own thing, and I'm going to go find a freaking idol.
And I did.
Yeah.
No, I
did
respect
he
it.
maybe blow his cover by changing twice and going back in the same clothes? Maybe that takes away a little bit of points. But
Did he ultimately, his plan not go perfect? Yeah, I mean, maybe. But it still worked out. And now he still has an idol. And he can now, possibly, whatever he wants to do with it, waltz into Final Four with no big deal. So that's 5 extra points for Jake and D. Jake is the only one that's picked up on a team that's on your team, so you get 5 extra points for Jake. I don't have our computer to tell us the total scores and everything, so that will be a secret, I guess, unless you recall and want to add it up yourself. That'll be a secret going into the finals to figure out a bunch of stuff. But Jessie, talk to us about the points for this episode.
Alrighty, so we're going to start with Austin on your team for winning an individual award, playing an idol on himself, and surviving the week. He gets 18 points.
My guy. I'm looking up right now to see if I would have gotten more points if they kissed, but continue.
Julie survived the week. She gets 3 points. The person with the most points this week was D, who won an individual immunity and was chosen for award and survived the week. She got 23 points, but neither of us have D. So you have a total right now of 21 points.
Earned from this episode.
Yeah.
That's that's respectable. It's not awful, it's not great, but it's fine.
Yeah. I have Katora, who said a curse word. Thank you, Katora. Chosen for a reward and survived the week for 13 points. I have Drew, who said a curse word. Also, thank you, Drew. And torch snuff due to blindside. And then I have Jake, who also said a curse word. Love my team. Love my potty mouth team. Found a hidden idol and survived the week for 18 points. And then with the 5 bonus points, a total of 51 points. So there is now an additional 30-point differential between us.
I'm so upset. 5-point category, kisses another player still in the game. So if Austin and D kissed, I would have gotten 5 more points.
Yeah, and if they kiss at the end, it doesn't count. Because one of them won't be in the game because one of them...
That's a great point.
One or both of them won't be in the game.
They have to kiss before the winner is announced.
Yeah.
Know this, audience.
And they both have to be in the final 3 for it to count.
Know this, yes. No, well... Yeah, I guess it's fair.
Katura not gone on that plane ride, you would have gotten them. How many points? 5 points?
It's only 5.
I feel like that should be worth a lot more.
I agree.
Because that doesn't happen as much in the new era of Survivor.
You're telling me that catching seafood is 10 points while kissing someone is 5? What are we talking about, global TV? That's insane. But yeah, 30 point. You said 30 points, right? Differential between the two of us.
Yes.
That stinks. And I was already behind. But we're going into the finale. I don't, like you said, I don't know exactly the next points. It should be good. We're both excited for the finale, I feel. There are a lot of points up for grabs. There are bonus points. Whoever gets third place, second place, and wins the game. 10 bonus points if you get third. 20 bonus points if you get second place, and 30 bonus points if you win the game. So if Austin or Julie win the game, which I don't know anymore, it's plausible, but we'll see. If D goes home, then there's a good chance that Austin and Julie win. So if either of them win, I can make up all of the points I lost in one fell swoop.
That's assuming that I don't widen the gap.
Well, if you widen the gap with Katora getting third place, then you get 10 bonus points because of it.
If we get within a 5 point, how many points is it for crying on camera?
Crying on camera, I want to say is 5. Yes, visually cries with tears on camera.
If we get within 5 points, we can go back and review Jake crying on the beach.
We have to. There's also additional points up for grabs. 15-point category, win a fire-making challenge. So winning the fire-making challenge, going from 4th into 3rd, final 3, will give someone 15 points. So that is a very interesting one. We mentioned maybe Julie, maybe Jake, maybe Austin. Any of those people could potentially get 15 points. Yeah, so there's a lot of points up for grabs going to the last episode. We'll see what happens here. There's the idea of, you get 3 points for surviving a week. I'm guessing whoever gets 4th doesn't get any of those 3 points, but we'll see what happens, folks. And then we'll have all our totals for next week. I am excited about the finale. If you are obviously listening to us, we appreciate it, and we hope that, I want to say this now before we fully get to the finale, subscribe to Scurvivor series wherever you get podcasts. Please subscribe, because obviously this is our second to last episode of this season. Mm-hmm. We'll be having another episode next week when this comes out, but we will not be back until probably February 26th. The new season 46 of Survivor, starts February 28th. So we'll have our special.
That's early. Do they do 2 seasons in a year?
2 seasons in a year, yeah.
Let us know, too, if you want us to bring Jerry back for the finale. If you liked Jerry, Ryan doesn't want to bring her back yet.
The reason
Too soon?
Jerry's listening to this, I know. We might not be able to bring Jerry back for the finale because of our scheduling of having to record next week. Next week we have to watch the Survivor live and then record the next day immediately, and then we're on a plane Friday morning, and we aren't coming back, so it has to be recorded Thursday morning.
Fine.
So I guess, Jerry, if you're listening to this, if you're available Thursday morning,
if you want to wake up at the crack,
if you want to wake up, I think 5 a.m. your time.
Yeah.
Then you can join us.
Fine, but let us know if you want us to bring Jerry back for the beginning episode of next season, maybe. Jerry, if you're listening, we are pitching you to our followers, so just know that you will be called.
But also know that we're already having discussions that we're probably going to bring Jerry back for that episode. But yeah, so we're going to be back the 26th of February for that special first episode of where we pick our teams, go through the new season, go through the new players, and pick who is going to potentially win Survivor. So until then, until next week for the grand finale of season 45 of Survivor, I've been Ryan. That has been Jessie. This has been Scurvivor Series. Email us, scurvivorseries@gmail.com. Should do that plug earlier, but whatever. Jessie, any other thoughts? Thoughts. Things to go before you go, which is the classic title for this segment. What do you want to recommend for people who are listening to this week's episode?
Hydrate. You're more likely to get dehydrated in the winter because you don't think about drinking water as much because you're not hot. So just remember to hydrate. That's my plug for the week.
It's also, I think, there's an argument that the winter is drier, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like the winter is drier just as a season.
Just stay hydrated. Drink a lot of water.
You're
not going to want to, but do it.
Yeah. I've been having like eye strain. I think I talked about this last week. I've been having eye strain for like 2 weeks. And a lot of it is probably because I was having migraines, and like having 4 migraines over 3 weeks certainly hurts your eyes. Which I had that fear today of like, it's been a week since I had a migraine. So either I'm not having one in the next couple days, or I'm going to have one in the next couple days.
You're going to have one if you start stressing yourself out about having one.
I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, I'm also drinking a bunch of water because hopefully that helps with my eye strain. That's my advice. If you have eye strain and your eyes hurt, just before you go to bed, just put lotion all over your face.
I mean, we're going to get so many people being like, I broke out because I put lotion all over my face.
I've been using lotion.
Yeah, but like
the past 2 days.
Maybe like test it on a small patch of your face first.
I've been testing on my feet first.
Well, on your face? Your face is more sensitive.
Maybe your face.
There's also facial moisturizers. If you have sensitive skin, try a facial moisturizer.
Yeah, I don't have facial moisturizer. I'm using the super like dry cracks, the lotion that I have. Oh, yeah.
And you just put that on your face and you have no problems. I also learned that you don't use face wash, and you just like rinse your face in the shower with soap and you're fine. And I'm jealous.
No.
You don't even do that?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I don't want soap in my eyes.
And like, and yet.
That's been Scurvivor series. We'll be back all next week. The crowd's taking us out. We'll be back next week for an all new episode of Scurvivor series for the finale. We love everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.